Hey everyone, we're back again with some more 60 Grassy commentary, and it's once again been a very long while. We've of course not kept up to our promise of regular uploads, but that's the thing. You never know when these are going to come out, and that keeps it spicy. So anyway, we'll get into it. Our first game is with Tiger, not someone I've actually versed before on 60G. Since his many ults to 2K, I don't think we've actually played. So this is actually my first game with him. Very exciting. So we'll get right into it. We'll minimize this, have a little bit of a better view of everything. I don't actually remember what I'm running. It's been a couple of weeks, so we can find out. Start off with a nice simple flash, and he's running a bit of an interesting book. He's got the seasons level 3s if you take a look here. He's got Dried and also Four Seasons. Four Seasons recently got a buff, so that could be why he's running that as well. And I just start the game, set up a simple swarm here, and he decides to trap me with the tree. That's completely fine. Eventually, this tree's going to die, and I decide to just flash out anyway. So fairly standard start. Let's see what he does here. Goes for the Vine Bridge, traps me inside. So he's running Seasons along with Vine Bridge, which means chances are he's not running Flight. So here, he decides to go for the Acorn, which summons a tree sort of in the next turn. I was thinking of blocking that up, but the thing is for all those who don't quite know how the Acorn spell works, and we'll see it in a second, is it spawns this beehive in the center of the tree, and every single turn this beehive spawns an additional 1 HP bee, and the bee works very similarly to a swarm. It can fly around, it can hit people, and it deals damage. And yeah, and I guess the thing about it is it always spawns at a fixed location, so I couldn't even be bothered dealing with it because it basically traps itself. There's two ways, I guess, of countering the Acorn strategy. The first is you block this little hole before the beehive comes out, and then it won't spawn. And the second, of course, is just kill the beehive after it spawns. Anyway, everything that he's gotten coming out of the beehive has been trapped, so I just decided to leave it as is. He also develops Pegasus. We also summon our Dragon Egg over there. I'm trialing rather, Dragon Egg again. I'm trying to see how good it is. We go for a nice Ice Shield on a peg, trap him, and we detail him so that his Snowfall doesn't damage our peg. And as you can see here, there's a bunch of bees trapped inside. The weird thing about this spell is that the bees don't actually count properly towards your minion count. What I mean by that is clearly he's got 3 minions alive and he had 4 at one point, but it only counts as, it only counts as 2 minions because the beehive is the minion count for everything. He goes for a 4 Seasons, he sets up the 4 Seasons. It's not a bad play because now he's got 4 consecutive casts of the 4 Seasons spell. Once again, for those that don't know, the 4 Seasons spell basically means that after casting once, you can cast again for the following 4 turns without the need to, with no cooldown. I bring out the Dark Knight here. I'm not too concerned. And I've got all of his minions trapped, and he reveals the Thorn Bomb here. Right. The Thorn Bomb, the reason why he does this is that he can now combo with 4 Seasons, and it deals damage. The Thorn Bomb deals damage the turn that it comes out. So I wasn't quite expecting that. Thankfully, it doesn't do too much, only about 90 damage or so. And we walk across to a safe space. He himself is on top of the Dark Knight, and we go in for the kill. That's the first game, fairly simple. Our second game, of course, is with our all-time favourite, Mr. Siggy. So we'll get it started right away. Running a bit of a random outfit. I don't even know where this one came from. Probably from a random outfit generator. So start off the game, flash them off the map. Just checking on what we're running. We're running 4 seasons apparently. Yeah, I don't even know what I was taking this game. I'm pretty sure I wasn't taking Thorn Bomb, so it might just be a 4 seasons book that we chucked together last minute, and we'll see how it goes. Start of the game, Siggy goes to the side. He probably saw that I had 4 seasons, so assume I had no flight. Even if I did have flight, I probably wouldn't have flown over to the side. And he flies back up, and we'll see what he decides to do here. Bumps me in, almost connects me with the swarm, and if it does, it would have done an extra 30 damage, but doesn't quite. That's completely fine, and goes in for the trap here. We decide to flash out. I mean, this swarm is in a fairly good spot. Once we do end up getting out, we can always blast from the past, and the swarm will be free. Siggy decides to go back onto the side, and I think he's going to play fairly safe, away from top side, because with 4 seasons, you generally have pretty good top control. So I would guess my guess, yeah, I trap him on the side, and that way I get to maintain control over the top. He can do whatever he wants on the side, whilst we set up on the top of the map, which I'm very, very happy to do, and very happy to have that exchange as well. Brings out the Dark Totem. He's going to start the Dark Totem once again. For anyone who doesn't know, somewhat new spell. It's been around for a while, but it recently got a buff and come into the meta a bit more prominently. Basically, this little red circle at the start of his turn, you'll dig essentially that part away. So it's a recurring effect at the start of every single turn, and yeah, it's helpful with dig. It's good with tempo sometimes, and we go for the pixies here. We go for the pixies, and I made sure to flash within, so that if he's got a Sky Ray or something similar, we can account for that. And he's also running Sylph, which is quite interesting. I decided to separate one of the pixies out. I always like to do this just in case something happens. You never know. Sometimes they've got, I mean, you never know what they might have. So we go for the stack, get the pixie there. In hindsight, it was probably fine to stack them all together, and I probably end up doing that anyway. Yeah, there we go. I end up doing that anyway. So I cast the aura, and we start building these pixies up. It doesn't really look like Siggy's got anything to stop us here, so we can play fairly slowly and get everything moving up as well. Goes for the Forest Seed here, traps me on the side, or traps the pixies inside. Doesn't really do very much. I can always blast from the past the tree on the later turn, and it's like a half turn investment for a 1 turn investment. So I'm pretty happy at the moment. And I'm in no rush to move things across. I go for the Morning Sun, just to make it quite awkward for him to come up. And if he were to do something like that, for example, he uses the totem to break the Morning Sun. I'm pretty happy with that, because the following turn the Morning Sun's gonna hit again, and his totem will die. Thing about the Morning Sun, it's a somewhat new spell. I mean, Morning Sun's been around for quite some time, but it hasn't seen a lot of play recently. It's a 21. It used to be a 21 damage spell. Now it's a 30 damage spell, so it's a fairly big buff. It's, if you think about it, it's almost a sort of a 35% to 40% damage increase, which is pretty massive, and it goes over the key threshold because it now kills things on 25 health, which is very, very big. So with that in mind, we've got Morning Sun set up on the side. It makes it very, very awkward. You can still see the beam of light. It makes it very awkward for him to come across to my side of the map, and we can play things fairly slow. There's no rush. We go over here. We use the acorn to set up the tree. and we can start spawning bees, I guess, on the following turn, right? So he's going to have to jump this Sylph up to pretty much break this Morning Sun for him, which he does, and the thing is the Morning Sun will come back the turn after anyway. So I think that it's a somewhat underutilized spell. It's a very good map control spell. Reason why is you can put Morning Sun down the middle. You yourself don't get damaged by it. You can run back and forth. Your opponent can't. Siggy goes for a flash here. I had a feeling he would probably do that. Siggy always likes to go for these flashes. So when in doubt, you can always stand in a slightly stupid position, not too stupid, and you can trust that Siggy will go for a flash. And it's one of those things. It's probably the most frustrating thing I imagine for him as well. You know, as soon as you flash, you see they don't go in the water, and it's instant regret because you know it's not a good play to begin with, and you know you feel like doing it anyway, and alas, and then this happens. So I try to jump up. We're clearly very rusty. We dance around a little bit, and it takes us too long, so we don't actually get back up. You know, if this was a couple of months ago, I'm sure it would have been fairly easy. But anyway, goes for a shock bomb here. Somehow gets a miraculous sink here, by the way. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know how he gets that sink. And as a result, we now have to play a little bit defensive. Because he can summon the Dark Knight, we need to be in a position where we can either tower or flash down into the map. It's not a great position to be in, but we now have to play a little bit defensive to compensate, I guess, for our mistake from there. So he summons the Dark Knight here. Our bees are starting to be active, so we're getting some, residual value over time. The other thing that the bees do is that they stun themselves upon hitting something. It's a way of making them more, I guess, quote unquote balanced, if you will. So the more bees spawn and everything like that, we definitely want to get out of this place. So here we go. The bees also, another thing about them is that they move in, they're synchronized in movement until they get stunned like that. We just want to make sure that the Dark Knight isn't quite able to come back up. I'm a little bit paranoid here. I'm worried that it is anyway. So what I instead do is I put a swarm here to, just in case the Dark Knight somehow makes it through, that there's a swarm here blocking his charge. Siggy brings over the Sylph. Obviously the Sylph's been trapped onto the other side due to the Morning Sun. And he decides to come here, and I think he goes for an Ice Shield to try and block off the minions. I'm not 100% sure if that's what he's doing, but yeah, something along those lines. You might wonder what on earth Siggy just did. The answer is literally nothing. Unfortunately, he ran out of time, so he ended up missing a turn there, which is pretty unlucky on his end. The Dark Knight here is still trapped. As you can see, I can't actually move any of the bees away because they instantly get stunned at the beginning of the turn. So that's another weakness of them, is that if they're in a bad position, you can't actually get them out because they'll continuously stun themselves. Not much that you can really do. Anyway, these bees, just so everyone's aware, they're like the most wonky things ever. We go for a bit of a weird play. We decide to 4 seasons ourselves. I just want to get rid of this tower. Get rid of this tree, so that I can blast from the past, break free, all the whilst we're still using our bees to sort of gain value overall. Go for a drain. I'm low on health, so no reason not to really. And the point of this, these droplets, was to actually break this Ice Shield free, so our Pixie can fit through. But of course it doesn't do that, and it kills our own bee in the meantime. So that's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, as you can see, the beehive continuously spawns bees every single turn. It's probably one of the most frustrating things to have to deal with. But I would say that it's probably not as good as it seems. It's very awkward to use. Very, very awkward to use. And they will keep stunning themselves, and it's just, yeah, overall it's just a bit of a mess. Anyway, we hit Siggy here again. We steal the Dark Knight. we cast all them leaves because why not? We still have our 4 seasons active, so we might as well make use of it. I don't know what that was supposed to achieve, but I'm sure there was something. He isn't able to fit down, so well, I guess he can with a blast from the past, and then he shock bombs me. So we're on actually a little bit, a little low in HP, not the greatest. And I think our plan here is to bring the Dark Knight over as soon as we can, which is once again fairly challenging. But I don't know if I actually end up getting it over. I know for sure that if this was in the past, I'm sure I would have been able to do that with the time constraints, but we're slow now. Oh, there we go. We get it up, and we get it to a position where, yeah, we try to charge and we get C stuck there. Very good. Apparently not. I guess we don't get him stuck, and he decides to Ice Shield and go for the Shock Shield, which is not great. And this is fairly simple. We just blast from the past into the sides. I want to be a little bit careful here, and I try to hit him with the Swarm first. The reason why I do that is because usually you can still connect on the side of the Ice Shield with a very small minion, even though an Ice Shield is supposedly a perfect circle. With this, with something like a Swarm or like a Bee, you can usually still hit at certain angles. So going for that, we drop him down and then we finish off the game with a charge.